What's up, everybody? Kyle Barboza here, bass player, music educator, and the title of this video is going to be Stop Plucking. And I promise that that's only 40% clickbait. A lot of people that I've worked with, a lot of people that I talk to mention frustration with trying to get a good sound, a strong sound out of the bass. And also frustrations with strings ringing out that you don't want to be ringing out while you're playing. So let me offer you a different perspective on your right hand technique. Instead of plucking the string, I want you to pinch the string. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about if I were to anchor my thumb on the bass like I do on the pickup when I'm playing the E string, and I do a pinch motion, my fingers are going to do this, right? Okay, now if I apply that to the bass, I'm going to anchor my thumb where it usually is, and now I'm going to pinch the string toward my thumb. I'm going to follow through to my thumb. This is what I get. Man, how much better of a sound is that already? And I can do that really strong and loud, and I'm not going to get excess fret noise, okay? If I do that on every string, pinch toward the thumb, I'm going to get a really strong sound. So that's my first big solution, is to work that into your playing. Pinch the strings, don't pluck the strings. Now, when I go past the E string, right, when I'm playing the A, the D, and the G, now I'm not going to be able to pinch into my thumb, right? If I'm playing a 5th fret C on the G string and I pinch all the way to my thumb, I'm going to pull all the strings, right? But if I still think that mentality, if I keep that mentality of pinching the string, what's going to end up happening is I'm going to pull the string, release it, and follow through to the string above it. And that's exactly what I want. Okay, that's what I want you to make sure is happening in your playing too. That when you pinch through and follow through the string, that your finger follows through to the string above it. Very, very important. It's important and goes a huge, huge distance toward fixing your muting issues, by the way, following through to the string above. And it also just makes your hand get used to being poised to play all 4 strings. For example, if I were to follow through on all of my strings, I get a natural raking motion through the strings. And that is the first step toward getting a great sound. So to reiterate real quick, pinch, don't pluck. And in that pinching motion, you're going to follow through naturally to the string above, and that's the technique you want. Now, practicing that, very, very simple. Keep it simple. Just get the mechanism down, right? Start with just getting the motion of it on isolated notes. Try it on all the strings. Try it with both fingers. Make sure you're doing it with alternating fingers. And then once you start to get the mechanism down, add it to your bass lines. Then make sure that whatever you're playing, you're instituting that technique and focusing on that. And after some time, man, you're going to hear a huge improvement in your sound and in your control, in your expressiveness. You're going to sound confident. You're going to sound authoritative. And by the way, that is the second most important aspect of your playing, is getting a full sound out of the strings. A full articulation, strong articulation. First most important thing as a bass player is great rhythm. Second most important thing is great articulation. And that's going to get you there. Okay. Hey, if you're interested in private lessons, working with someone who can get your sound to where you want it to go, I'm here. Shoot me an email. My email's in the description. Let me know you're interested. I offer a free consultation. Let's get together. Let's talk about it. Looking forward to working with you. So the second thing I want to offer you in this video that, is kind of pseudo controversial sounding is skip the floating thumb technique. Ditch that. Okay, if you're a beginner. Okay, I get it. There's so many great players that use floating thumb technique. I use floating thumb technique all the time. Not as my main go-to for my right hand technique, but I use it. If you're wondering what that is, floating thumb technique is one of two things. It's where you either move your thumb down the strings as you pluck down the string. So I'm plucking the A string, my thumb is on the E string. I'm plucking the D string, my thumb is anchored on the A string. I'm plucking the G string, my thumb is anchored on the D string. It's either that, or you just keep the thumb floating, like literally floating, not really on the strings, just resting against them. And you move your hand down the strings as you play. It's a technique that I use quite a bit. I just kind of use it when I feel like it. But for beginners and most people in most styles, I think it encourages an anemic sound because it encourages you to do a little more of a plucking motion than a pinching motion, and that's just not going to do it for you. So here's an alternate technique that I want you to try. It's real simple. When I'm playing the E string, my thumb is anchored on the pickup, okay? If it's not anchored on the pickup, I got it anchored on the body, maybe the pick guard, somewhere comfortable, okay? But E string, anchor on the pickup. And again, that pinching motion. When I go past the E string, my thumb moves to the E string. So if I'm playing the A string, the D string, or the G string, my thumb anchors on the E string for all of those strings. Okay, I don't move it down the strings as I go. I keep it simple. I keep it anchored on the E string. And honestly, for me, this solves a lot of the muting issues right there. Doesn't solve all of them, but if you're someone who has strings that ring out a lot, here's why it's going to solve that. Because what it encourages is not only that nice strong pinching motion, but it's going to encourage your ring and pinky finger because your hand is shaped like this. When you're anchored on the E string, you see how my hand is shaped. It's going to encourage these two non-plucking fingers to rest on the other strings that you're not plucking. And that solves a lot of muting issues, okay? So if I keep my hand relaxed and I'm plucking my G string here, my ring finger and my pinky just kind of hang out on those strings, and it helps to mute them. So I've got the E string muted with my thumb. I've got the D and the A string kind of just muted when I need to with my ring and pinky finger. And then I've got my other two fingers Freudian slip, free to get a good sound out of the G string that I'm plucking, okay? So that's why I think ditch the floating thumb technique, especially if you're a beginner, and especially if you're not getting that strong authoritative sound that you can get. Ditch it, try that thumb technique. And practicing it, again, very simple. Do a little bit of string skipping, okay? Practice playing eighth notes with the root, fifth, and the octave on the E string. So let's take a G, okay? I'm going to play 3rd fret G on the E string. I'm going to play the root, the fifth, and the octave. And I'm going to practice when I move past the root to the fifth, I'm going to practice moving my thumb down to the E string and then moving it back up when I pluck the E string, okay? Then start adding a little bit of rhythm into it. And you'll notice if you're watching close, my thumb takes a second to move past the pickup. I'm not trying to get it exact all the time. I let it just kind of drift down to the E string when it feels like it, okay? But when you're practicing it, practice getting it down on that E string off the pickup when you move off the E string. And after a while of getting the mechanism down and doing different skips of the string in different patterns and different bass lines, you're going to get it. It just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of focus, a little bit of practice. But that right there is going to solve a lot of your issues and a lot of your anemic tone that you get out of the bass. All right, everybody, have a great week. Next week, we're talking about the rest of your muting issues and my techniques for muting the strings so that not only are you going to get a strong sound, you're going to get a really, really clean sound out of the bass. I'll have that one next week. I'll see you guys in 7 days. Have a great week of practice. See ya.